In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about a topic that I don't talk too much about. Technically, it's the opposite of the no comfort zone. I'll see you on the inside.
Welcome.
Attention, please.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome to the No Comfort Zone podcast. It's time to get out of your comfort zone and live on purpose. Broadcasting to the world from Rockford, Illinois. This is your wake-up call.
Warning.
You are the solutions to all your problems. Stop thinking average. Become the hero version of yourself. Every day, every time, without fail, no exceptions. It all matters. You've entered the No Comfort Zone. It's time for a reality check.
Hey, welcome back to another edition of the No Comfort Zone, success and motivation in the No Comfort Zone with yours truly, Dan Brzezowski. Hey, today's episode is brought to you today by you. It's all about you, and I want you to know that I do believe in you, and I do know from the bottom of my heart that if you put a little bit of effort and a little bit of will, desire, passion, and belief, you're going to get where it is you want to go in life. But first, you have to know where it is you want to go. I spend a lot of time in this podcast talking about getting out of your comfort zone. I talk a lot about activities. I talk a lot about results. Those things in life are the things that matter. And happiness, as we know, is a byproduct of really hard work. So I do believe that in order to get happy, you're going to have to work really hard in order to achieve that. And if you're a listener of this podcast, then you understand exactly what I'm talking about. And more than likely, you can totally relate to what I'm saying. So today it's Wednesday. It is October the 13th, the 21st century, or 2021. It's a beautiful sunny morning as I'm driving in. And I wanted to catch up with you for a moment and let you know that, today is going to be whatever it is that you want to make it to be. And I mean that. Lately, it's been tough. I've been very reactive to the situations that have been around me. And I'll tell you this, I have been behaving like a very reactive person. Something bad happens, I react or I overreact, trying to control the situation. So in my downtime, what I'm trying to do is find a place where I can go to learn how to not react or overreact or basically feel the way that I'm feeling, and then do a thing or two that I ultimately, in the end, really, it's not my character, it's not who I am. I was just reacting, or in most cases lately, overreacting. And it has to do with a couple of things, but in life, you're going to have to deal with situations. You have to deal with problems. That's what life is all about. And that's what this podcast is all about. Your ability to actually learn from a problem, your ability to take that information that you've learned from a poor decision, a consequence, a reality that you're now facing. It's your responsibility as the person that's in that problem to not play the role of the victim and somehow find a way to move forward, go after your goals, and live a happy life. And again, I believe you do that by working really hard, having goals, and getting the results. And I believe the happiness comes from the activities in working towards the goal, not the actual end result in achieving the goal. So with this podcast and what I always talk about achieving, accomplishing, believe and achieve, and, work your ass off and crush it and go after it, get up early, stay up late, all that stuff. It's important to know that all comes from a place. It comes from a really important place. There is a time to reap and there's a time to sow. Okay? And you don't do both in the same season. I think I got that from Bob Proctor. So when it comes down to work time, you need to work, and you need to work nonstop. You need to go nuts with the work ethic. Because when you do it long enough and you stay in that season and you work the whole season, you're going to reap what you sow. It's going to come back to you. You have to believe that although you might not be seeing the results, the fruits of your labor yet, it's like that bamboo. I have no idea how long it takes to grow a bamboo shoot, but I do know this. It's going to spend a lot of time under the earth. And then one day, miraculously, it breaks through and then it shoots to the sky substantially faster than it was growing underneath. It just explodes into its being. All right, I know that sounds like a little philosophical there, but bear with me. If you truly want to find your happiness after you're done working, whenever that season is done, you need to take some time and you need to get comfortable. What did I just do? That's like anti-me. No, you got to check this out. You got to take a moment to, let's say, for example, if you want to sharpen a knife, you don't do it with a feather. Okay. If you want to, get a kite to fly, you don't do it by being passive. It needs resistance. And when it comes to creating a diamond, a coal only turns into a diamond when it's under pressure. A guitar doesn't work, or a musical instrument doesn't work if it's out of harmony. So if the string is too tight, it's going to snap. And if it's too loose, you're not going to have any harmony whatsoever. It's not going to do what you intended to do. It's going to sound horrible. And when you put all this together, and when you look at personal growth and personal development with what everybody is contributing and saying and doing, a lot of it, most of it has to do with mindset and your desire to be in a certain place. And that certain place might be a place of happiness. It might be a place of wealth. It might be a place of where you and your family are in a peaceful place and your bills are paid. Whatever is true for you, whatever creates your happiness, that's your imagination. That's your desire. Those are your choices. You have the ability to create the reality that you're looking for. And in that reality, you have to ask, are you peaceful? Do you find genuine happiness in living in your accomplishments? Are those the things that you find that will definitely make you happy? Because a lot of people wind up in life with these ideas of where they want to go and what goals they're looking to achieve. And then they spend all this time working and getting there. Then all of a sudden they get there and they realize that's not what they wanted. I would have never believed when I heard that about 30 years ago that could ever happen to me. And it did. It happened a couple of times in my life. And now I can thankfully say that I'm not there anymore, because a lot of the things that are happening in my life are by design. They're by putting pen to paper. They're by coming up with an idea. They're working towards it. And it's the end goal, the happiness that I'm looking for. And very importantly, how I got there. So today in the podcast, I'm already about a few minutes into it, but I want to share with you what I'm going to talk to you about getting true happiness and getting that peaceful serenity that what you need in your life. And there's 4 things that you're going to need to do. And the first and the foremost is you have to get, here it is, by the way, here's what you have to do. Here are 4 things that are going to help you achieve a better life. And in this podcast, in this episode, on today's date, this could be just enough to change your life for the rest of your life. If you apply these principles, and I'll show you how to do that, if you apply these principles, the value in this is absolutely huge. The value in this will absolutely change your life. And what you need to do is, number 1, you need to get control of your emotional state. You have to have a good emotional health. People talk about anxiety, they talk about depression, they talk about bipolar, OCD, all of these things, these stigmas that people have. And now people are handing these labels out like names, like nicknames to people. It's not okay. It's mental health is it's very serious. I've been in the institution for a little while, and I've experienced people that have massive mental health issues. And I will tell you this, there is mental health issues and there's emotional health issues. Most of the people on the planet have emotional health issues. So what I would say to this is you need to get centered. You need to become aware of who you are. You need to identify how you've got there, decide where it is you want to go, because you are a human being and you do have will. You have choices to make. You have decisions. You can take action. And when you take that action, what will happen is you will get results. When the results aren't exactly what you need to alter your actions. Keep your decisions where you want to go, but alter your actions and watch what happens. You start to accomplish the things. This is where you do the farming. This is where you do the sowing. This is where you take that time and you just go to work on you. Now, situations come up, just don't be reactive. Take a minute, close your eyes. Don't make the decision yet. Realize that there's a good, there's a bad, and there's the middle. Realize what your outcome is. When you know what your outcome is, oh my gosh, you can go so much further with that decision, because you know in the end game, you know it is that this is either going to help you, it's going to hurt you, or it's not going to do anything for you. It's a waste of time. And you have to make that decision to do that. So your emotional intelligence don't become reactive. That's the bottom line for that. Just don't be reactive. Wait a moment and look at your next 7 seconds, 7 minutes. Look at your next 7 days, 7 weeks, 7 months, 7 years. Is it taking you on that trajectory where it is you want to go? And that's from Frank J. Lopes. Again, 7-Minute Setup. Check the book out. It's great. It really works. Now we're going to go on to step number 2. And step number 2, when you put this into the big picture of things, I want you to understand that this is the hardest thing for me to work on. This is extremely difficult for me. If you were to come into my home, go into my office, you would see that I have legal pads, writing tablets all over the place. I am constantly recording my thoughts. I have them everywhere. Every time I go out to the store, like every other week to Target or something like that, I am picking up some sort of a legal pad from Office Max or Target so that I can write down my thoughts, so I can write down my goals. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but I do want you to understand I have a very difficult time with staying present in the moment. I have a job and a responsibility where I have to kind of look into the future and kind of get an idea of what's going on in the market with the people, the process, the places. I have to get ahead of things. Now, you can still do that, but you also have to maintain, where am I physically at right now? Get centered on where you're at. Get to that point where you know you're present. And the best way that I know to do that, take a step back, check in at those 15 minutes, take a breath in, take a breath out, and go, okay, here's where I'm at. That's just something that simple. And then emotionally, it can tie you in. So number one, remember, emotional, you have to have, that emotional health. You have to make sure you take care of that. Don't be reactive. Number two, you have to stay present. The two work with each other. So if you can stay present, you are cooking with gas. You're in a good place if you can stay present. It helps with so much to see where you're really at and where it is you really want to go. Because if you're not centered, you're making decisions based on stuff that's not necessarily real. You have to make a real decision, but based on real information. And that's by being present. Okay. Number three, you're going to have to eat healthier. Eating healthier is so important. Now, just to kind of bring you up to date, I'm finally going for the knee surgery. So that's going to be happening next week. I had blown out my meniscus, starting to run a couple years back. I wanted to run a marathon. If you listen to the podcast, I began running. I began exercising, and lo and behold, I blew out my knee again. But I finally have took the corrective measures. I got two meniscus. Both knees got to get the meniscus taken out because they're tore up. So I got to deal with that. I'm going to do one and then I'll do the other. I'm not looking forward to it, but that's happening next week. And then I'm looking to get back into the scene. But the reason why I'm telling you that is because my exercise, you can't let one thing stop everything. But there's a lot of exercises that I can't do now just because my knees hurt. So in doing so, I have to look at my diet a little bit tighter now. I can't have, if you're going to eat 40 meals and let's just say realistically, half of those meals are healthy. I can't do that anymore. So I'm on the 35 to 38. I got to eat those type of meals, 35 healthy meals, 38 healthy meals, or, if I'm out of 40 meals. So that's kind of the ratio that I'm going with. But I know the importance of eating healthy. And back to it again, my blood work came back and everything's great except for the cholesterol. And I realized that, okay, this is no joke. I have a high stress job. I don't manage stress that well, although I'm trying, and that's why I do this podcast. That's why I look for personal growth, personal development, because I want to be better myself. And there's people that I talk to on the phone. If you're interested, the NoComfortZone.com. Let me call you. We'll go over the blueprint. I'm looking for a few people that are interested in going through a no comfort zone. I'm getting ready to do that after my surgery. And let's find out where we're currently at. Let's measure in. Let's figure it out. Let's draw out our goals and let's look 90 days. What would happen? 60 days. What would happen? If you're interested, go to dan@thenocomfortzone.com and let me know you're interested. And I'll send you over it and we can create a Facebook page and we can go through that. We can go through that together. We can kind of check in. I think it'll be fun, and I think it'll be great to see people get into that. And it's going to be very private, so you don't have to worry about it. But we'll connect there, too. It's a great environment to do that. I've done that with some other things in my life. So with this whole, to get back on track, this whole eating thing is really important because I'm starting to lose the weight just through my diet. There's really not much exercise that I'm doing. A little bit here and a little bit there, a little ab work, a little push-ups and stuff. But for the most part, because my knees are shot, I don't want to stop moving. But I will tell you this, that just eating better, I am starting to lose the weight. And I'm actually starting to feel better. Rather than all the protein and some processed foods, I'm taking a lot of that out. And I'm starting to feel better. So I'm starting to look better too, and my clothes are fitting better. And this is after a very short time period. So that's another thing. And the last thing I want to say is this is exercise. You are going to have to exercise. And remember, when you exercise, it does help with your diet. When you do exercise, it helps you to get centered. And when you do exercise, it helps with your emotional intelligence. So I want to share that with you. And you don't have to do 2.5 hours a day like when I was trying to lift heavy. You don't have to do that. You could do this over, let's say, 20 minutes on the bike, 20 minutes on some sort of a cardio calisthenic type of workout, and 20 minutes with the weights, 1 or 2 body parts. Simple pull, simple push-pull exercise. You just do something to move for an hour. If you don't have an hour, do 45 minutes. If you don't have 45 minutes, do 30 or 20 or 10. It doesn't matter. Just do something, and you'll see the momentum kick in. One of the biggest things that I don't share in this podcast is the importance of when you get up early to write your goals out. Not your goals as a to-do list, but your goals as your vision of living the ideal life. What does that look like? I am so happy and grateful that today I am, and then you go into it, what it is. I'm living in my luxury house. I am driving this vehicle. I have this type of bank account. I do this for a living. And when you continue to work this way and you visualize and you write things down and you record them, it sends messages to your brain, especially upon waking or right before you go to bed. Because I notice when I do this, I feel so much more engaged in my own life. I feel less reactive. So I challenge you, grab a notebook, sheet of paper, and actually the physical form of writing, spelling the words out. When you do that, it does something. I don't know exactly what it does, but it triggers parts of your brain. And then next thing you know, you're starting to live that day. You're going through the motions and you're programming your subconscious to put you on autopilot to send you on a way for you to achieve your goals. And then you start to see different opportunities that show up. Currently, because of this podcast, there's other opportunities that were never available to me before. And through the power of this medium, I'm able to draw in people in my life, and I'm able to contribute to their life to help them. And it's been a magnificent change for me. It's like the perfect time. 3 years ago when I started this, I had no idea that it would be going this long. I had no idea the encouragement. I am so happy and grateful that I have a podcast that reaches thousands of people, on a daily basis, and those people contribute to my life by adding quality to it. Now that I know that I'm less a reactive person, I have more emotional control. I work really hard on being centered. And sometimes when I'm not centered, I just let it go and let it happen. You need some downtime. You let your mind wander and drift. But remember, you got these 15 minutes. And when those 15 minutes are up, it's time for you to move on. It's time for you to get back at it. There's a time to reap and there's a time to sow. Just remember that, okay? And then while you're, working on eating right and having the discipline to eat right, or even fasting sometimes, which is difficult, but I'm so glad that I went through a fasting period. It shows that I do have a lot of self-discipline, and it was really hard. And I wish I had that more of in my life, but I'm so glad as a 50-year-old guy that I actually know that I have discipline. It's huge for me. It plays a big role in my life, and I'm really happy to say that I actually have discipline. And fasting for a day or two is a great way to show that. And then lastly, by exercising and showing that discipline, it really comes down to helping everything else. Listen, I hope this podcast served you. I really hope that you find some value in this, because no matter what you do for a living, whether you're a mom, dad, son, daughter, you work at Starbucks, I always use that analogy, or as my parents always said, I'd end up working at a gas station, one of those full service gas stations, or whatever you do for a living, sales, executive, CEO, you're an athlete, you're a personal trainer, whatever it is, an insurance salesman, a plumber, no matter what it is, you have the ability to live your best life. And I really, truly believe, I believe this without a doubt, that there is a time to reap and there's a time to sow. Write those goals out, those 20 minutes right when you wake up, write those things out. I am so happy and grateful that I am. Write those out just that way. And then do yourself a favor. Check on these 4 points for personal growth. Are you doing the things that we talked about in this podcast? And then lastly, once you're done and once you feel good about where you're at, I got to tell you, this is how the podcast ends. I've said this almost 500 times now. What I want you to do is at this point, once you know you're centered and you're ready to go and you're feeling good and you got that breath and you're centered, now's the time for you to get out of your comfort zone and live on purpose.
Say goodbye.
Want more of the No Comfort Zone? You can follow Dan on Instagram and Twitter at NoComfortZone1.
Bye.
Or on the web at thenocomfortzone.com.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the No Comfort Zone podcast.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.